So, before the podcast starts, I'm really happy to share these chats with you, and it really helps me to think out loud. Once again, these are solely for entertainment and self growth purposes, so I hope that I can help you all in that regard. This particular episode is on the topic of trauma, grief, and loss, and the many shapes and forms that it comes in. Hopefully, you all can watch me become my greatest self little by little, and in extension, watch yourselves learn through me. So let's get all sentimental, open up, and if you all are interested in that, keep watching or listening, depending on wherever you all are, and subscribe, share if you wish, so that these messages can reach and be helpful to others. Thanks, guys. Hope you all enjoy. You think that I can't? Why do you think that I can't?
Watch me. Watch me. Watch me.
Watch me.
Watch me.
Watch me.
So, hi everyone. My name is Layla Layla Thomas, whatever you all would like to call me. And today with me, I have my classmate, Zoe Laydoo. Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Okay, I'm just jumping on because after editing the video, I realized that my voice was very muffled, and I am really sorry for that. But I did learn something that when you are recording, put in both your earphones because then your voice doesn't sound horrible. So hopefully I'll get sit through the terrible audio on my end, but I urge you all to sit through the pain of my muffled voice because for whatever you all can understand, it was very inspirational and is some great advice on both my and Zoe's end. So once again, I'm so sorry, but we are all human and make mistakes, and don't hate me. But yeah.
So, both of us started a social media class together in September. And for those who don't know, my social media project for school is about my journey through finding my purpose. And this podcast is part of it. Watch me. And Zoe also has her own media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, and a blog post. And she's been documenting her healing process from a very unfortunate loss of her father. My condolences again, Zoe.
Thank you so much.
And we will be touching on things around that topic: grief, loss, and trauma. So today's video is called The Different Faces of Trauma. So welcome, everyone. So I brought you on today, Zoe, not only because we have an assignment to do, but I love the way that you told your story using the platforms. And in one of your videos, I think on TikTok, you were discussing the topic of traumatic grief. I mean, traumatic grief.
Yeah, traumatic grief.
And I believe the video was like my turning point towards having you as my partner, because I love the way that you use the platform to express your process.
Thank you.
Although you would have said in the video that you wouldn't have qualified yourself at the time as a person who's gone through trauma, I think that you were probably comparing yourself to others, and you did say that. And a lot of us do that. And I thought that it would have been very beneficial for a lot of people to see that there are different types of traumas, different types of grief. And people experience loss in multiple different ways, like both of us. Completely different ways, but it's
it is.
So it's quite common, unfortunately, in a lot of people. And I thought that it would have been a really great and beneficial for other people to listen to us talk to you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, for my end, I'm just going to give everybody a rundown. My bout of trauma and loss was a lot of ups and downs and in betweens. And it started off as a divorce when I was around 4 or 5, and it wasn't that difficult for me because I was 4 or 5. So I didn't really know what was going on around me. And after I think I was around 7, I got a stepdad, and I bonded with him like a biological dad. I lost my biological dad for a little while. It was hard to try and weigh the scales, go by one dad, go by the next dad. figure out family settings. From my stepdad and my mom, I got two amazing stepsisters, which I consider my real ones, and I think everybody else does. In 2013, my mom got pregnant with my second sister. She's 9 now. She's a big girl now. But while my mom was pregnant with my second sister, we found out that my stepdad was cheating on my mom. And well, all of a sudden, he had to become a monster in my mom's eyes, and that kind of trickled down into everybody else's eyes because she was someone that we looked up to. So we just followed the leader, and it was very confusing. It felt like a huge loss for me, and that whole fight was difficult. It went on for 8+ years in court with my mom and my stepfather. And the only way that it ended was he passed away. He died last year in March, I believe it was, might have been earlier in 2021. So he was a very big part of my life. And then for those 8 years, he was missing because we were going through the fight in court. And when I found out that he died, it was a shocker. I never really got to talk to him about it. I never confronted it, and I still haven't really confronted it. I go to therapy, but I mean, it's a learning process, and I'm sure you would have known that, Zoe.
Yeah. It is really a process.
Yeah. For those who are listening, I just wanted to reach out and say before we start the questions that y'all aren't alone, and there's a lot of people that go through trauma, grief, loss, and it's a very real thing. And it's fast that you realize that it is a very real thing, and it's something that is inevitable on very different cases. It is the faster, I believe, the healing process begins. And I know too many people that brush it off as nothing at the start. I was one of those for 15 years. Yeah.
Same.
And I think that nothing really comes of you brushing off everything. You just kind of become very angry with the world, and take it from me, person who's done it, and probably still does it sometimes. It's not fun to stay angry with the world and everyone. You lose a lot of connections with yourself and with everybody around you. And if you want to spend, a really lovely life with yourself until you get old, it's great to not try and feel like you're invincible, because you're not. You're human. So today we're just going to talk very casually, get into all of the juicy stuff, and hopefully get some words out that need to be shared. We'll start with the first question. But first, I want to just bring in that you would have lost your dad, Zoe, in 2018.
Yes.
Which would be 4 years now. Yeah.
Going on 5, which is pretty unbelievable.
That's a landmark as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, obviously it's been very difficult for you. But from the way that you've spoken on Instagram and TikTok and all of these different platforms, I've seen that you've grown a lot. It seems so.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't feel like I have, but I appreciate hearing that.
I think the way that you express yourself, it seems as though you've learned. Quite.
I am learning a lot through just this whole project. I'm learning a lot more than I thought I would. So I think that is a good sign.
Well, great. That's my first question.
Yeah.
So for the first question, I would have loved to ask you, what drew you to this topic in particular, as something to share on social media? Because I mean, social media is a very public thing. And a lot of people run away from being so public with a topic like this trauma and loss and grief. So, yeah, what drew you to this topic in particular to share on social media?
Well, initially I had no intention of doing anything like this. I was planning on doing something a lot more general and safe and non-personal. But as it happened, one day I was talking to another student who had done this course before, and she was the one who suggested, why don't you do something more personal? And I immediately shot it down because I'm a very private person. I don't like opening up very much. And as you said, this is social media. It's a very, very public platform, And I thought, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're not going there. Absolutely not, because it's scary, to be that vulnerable on such a public platform.
Yeah.
But despite that, I couldn't help but think about what she said. And I started thinking, what would I say or what can I talk about that is personal? And the first thing that came to mind was my dad's death and, this topic of grief. And I was drawn to it for a few reasons. One, this idea of grief and loss is something I think most people can relate to. We've all lost someone in one way or another. Two, connected to that, I feel like with COVID and everything that we've experienced over the past couple of years, all the deaths that have taken place, I felt like it was a very pertinent topic right now with the pandemic going on still, and people dying from COVID still, and families having to deal with that. And then three, on a more personal note, the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of intrigued by this topic of grief, because it was something that I didn't really understand before. And I wanted to kind of explore it a bit more, just for my personal benefit,
Yeah. I mean, well, since starting, I've seen that you've had a couple comments, but I mean, you're kind of building a community. Do you think that you are helping people?
I don't know. I hope so. It's not really easy to tell for sure yet. I have gotten a few comments where people have said, both like on Instagram and TikTok or even on the blog, that people have said, they can relate to this, or they lost their mom or their dad, and so on. So it is good to know just from those comments I've gotten so far that, okay, it is at least something that people can relate to and might hopefully be able to help them.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
Okay, so question number 2. Do you think that you would have chosen a topic like this in 2018 when you would have just lost your dad?
No way. Definitely not. Like I said on my blog in one post, I think, 2018 is a blur for me. My dad died at the beginning of the year, and I don't remember a lot of the rest of that year because I was just in that state of shock. It was still fresh. I was still trying to process, and I think I was still suppressing a lot of what I felt and still not allowing myself to grieve.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was in the headspace to have done something like this back then, even though it probably would have been quite therapeutic and maybe it's what I needed. But I think I'm much better equipped to deal with it now. I'm older. I've had time to process it a little bit more. And I think I can express it a bit better now than I would have been able to in 2018, because back then, my thoughts were just so muddled. It was like this tangled ball of yarn. So, so I think the timing worked out really well where I could do it more justice now.
Right. Well, then you would have definitely said that you would have grown a little bit, because if you look back at 2018,
yeah.
So you can't put that on yourself, but you can't.
I can.
But yeah, you said that you went into this kind of fog, and I think that in my case, I still am kind of living that foggy, not knowing what the hell to do.
It doesn't go away that easily, yeah.
It does not. It does not.
Yeah.
And I did a video not too long ago on YouTube. That was before I did my social media project, and it was on numbness. And it was. I mean, I've had that feeling of numbness a lot. It's come up in bouts.
Yeah.
But in that particular video, I was having a rough month, and I created a video and I wrote something. Y'all could go check it out because I don't remember exactly what it was. And rewatching it, it sounded like really depressing, and I probably made everybody depressed. But I realized that I have these bouts of numbness, and it made me realize that I can accept that numbness as just a part of the process, and it's okay to not know what the hell you're doing sometimes. And to feel nothing sometimes. So that's where I am right now. I'm just feeling the numbness and going along.
Yeah. And I felt like that as well for a period after my dad died, where you just you're supposed to be feeling something, but like it's just not happening and you don't understand why.
Yeah, and sometimes you feel like something's wrong. Like why is people are crying? You actually brought that up before.
I did.
You want to hear videos like, do you cry at a funeral? Do you don't cry at a funeral?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just whatever you're feeling is true to you. Yeah?
Absolutely.
And there's no right or wrong way to hurt or go through that process. I mean, whatever you're doing, you're human. So you're doing it right.
And then
not like you're doing it as a dog. So your process.
Yeah. And it is a very personal thing. That's something that I've highlighted throughout my my blogs and my TikToks. It is such a personal journey that you go on, whether it's grief or trauma or whatever it is. It's uniquely you. So there's no pattern that you can follow, really. It's just you have to go through what you go through,
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about strength and shrugging things off, because we did kind of mention it with the shrugging. You said that you would have done this, so I'm guilty of saying that I say stay strong, and you would have said that you stay strong for family members. And like I said before, I know a lot of people that say, well, I can't break down. I have to stay strong for the people around me. I can't let them see me because feel.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring this up because a lot of people say that. I think that they say that they're staying strong because they're going through probably that numbness and they're not really sure of what is going on. So staying strong is something that is a great way to say something and have an answer for feeling like that. But what would you say in that instance? What would you say about blanking out, just not knowing what's going on, saying that you're staying strong? Where do you stand with the whole part of staying strong? I know you've gone through it.
Yeah, no, for me, staying strong is definitely, as you said, something that I did, or rather put on myself. Staying strong for my mom or my sister or even my dad's family and friends and co-workers, because after what happened, as his daughter, everyone's eyes are on you to see how you are responding and how you're taking it. And it kind of sets the tone, if you know what I mean. So I felt like if I broke down, everyone would break down. Or if I started crying, everybody would start crying as well, because they're looking at me to see how I handle it. And I felt like that would just make things worse if I broke down or if I started crying. So based on my experience now looking back, I would say that there's a fine line between staying strong and suppressing your grief or how you feel, which is what I did. And I think it's important to say that there's nothing wrong with staying strong. But if that means that you are also suppressing what you're going through, then that's when it can do more harm than good in the long run. And it kind of complicates or hinders the healing process, you know?
Yeah.
So in hindsight, I think you can still be strong and cry. You know, you can be strong and still give in to your emotions. That doesn't make you weak in any way. You know, as you've been saying, you are human. You have feelings, you know. So I think sometimes strength is reaching out for help.
Yeah.
And you can do that, and you can still be there for your family members. You can still be a source of strength for them. So I guess what I'm saying is, by all means, be strong, but don't do it at the expense of your own emotional well-being. You know, nobody can be strong all the time. So that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the strength part and looking up to other people, with regards to my mom, she, throughout her entire life, and I think still sometimes, she always tried to stay strong or put on that kind of front where the true emotions and how she was handling things didn't shine through. And a lot of the time it was really chaotic and she was breaking down inside. And I looked up to her as my light in the darkness. So I followed through with that whole process of I need to stay strong for everybody else. But recently, I mean, part of my loss and my trauma, I parted with my mom based on just having to try and figure out myself because a lot of things that were going on between both of us. When I parted with her, I kind of figured out that it's okay to feel sad and it's okay to, and I don't want to say that. I want to say that with regards to people who would have always put on the front and the face, that the other people that are watching you as well, they somehow think that you have everything together, and they get very confused because they see that they're probably going through a lot of trauma and everything hurts. And look at this person, they're perfect. They don't feel anything. And that's something that I struggled with a lot because I saw strength all the time and I never saw the weakness. And then I thought something was wrong with me. So
that's a really interesting point that you brought up. How, you know, you kind of copied in a sense what you saw, the example that you saw from your mom and how she reacted to it, because it's the same thing with me. You know, my mom is a rock. She's a very, very strong woman, but you know, as you said, I only saw the strength. I never really got to see the weakness, and I think that also factored into how I handled it. You know, you see that example being set and you kind of follow it, whether you're aware of it or not, you know. And I think a lot of moms feel that way, that they have to hold it together and they have to stay strong because of their kids, you know, and they don't want it to hurt the kids more than it has to. So they try to pull it together and do what they have to do. So I think it's something a lot of mothers can relate to as well, you know?
Yeah. And fathers.
Yeah.
For all the fathers that are watching. Yeah, I agree.
Hi guys, I just wanted to thank y'all if you all have reached this part of the video. If you are enjoying it, please take a second, actually not even a second, a half a second to like and subscribe. That is if you aren't already. And if you would like, after, leave a comment or review of something or a sentence in particular that resonated with you. Okay, that's it. Back to the video.
After talking about some of my loss and trauma being different to what you would have gone through, do you believe that there's anything else in your life that you could acknowledge today for the sake of growth and healing that was hurtful. Just to claim it today and not let it claim you any longer.
Yeah, I haven't experienced it personally, but I have been witness to or part of someone's struggle with anxiety and depression, which is a whole other topic. But, it really affects everyone who's involved, everyone who's close to that person. And, I think the toll that it takes on relationships on both sides can be damaging sometimes. There's often a lot of hurt involved there, again, on both sides. And it is very hard to recover from that. The healing process takes a little bit longer, I think, trying to heal those relationships. So,
yeah. I mean, well, on my end, I would have mentioned before that I parted ways with my mom.
yeah.
And my mom and I have been very close throughout my entire life. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched Gilmore Girls. Have you ever watched that?
I've seen bits and pieces. Yeah.
But we were close like that. We were even apart. And I think in some ways we still are. It's just not the same. I parted ways with my mom when I was 17. I used to live with her and my two sisters. And it was because with regards to how she handles some stuff, I just wasn't handling it the same way, and
Yeah.
it was very traumatic for me to try and go through like everything was happy-go-lucky, and I was really struggling with the way she just carried on life. And when I reached that age, though it wasn't 18, I felt like I had the support outside. Not really. My aunt and my uncle, there was an option to go and spend with them. And I said, yeah, I'm going to move in with you. I went to them, we had a meeting, and I went in and I moved in with them for about a year. But apart from that, losing my mom was one of the most difficult things that I did in my life, and it still is. I cry every day that I because I think about it a lot, because I remember, her coming home to me late at night because she had work. I would have already been asleep when I was young, and she would come and play with my hair and sing me songs. And, it was a very close relationship that I had with my mom. And losing it was a very big trauma, and it still is. And I try to come to terms with it, but it still happened. So I'm claiming it. I'm claiming that it was a trauma, still is a trauma. Yeah. But number 5. After expressing yourself and going through your process, what would you say is the most important thing in healing?
I think the answer for that is different for everyone, because again, everyone heals differently in their own way, of course. But for me, I would say the most important thing in the healing process would be not ignoring the pain, not pushing away the emotions, the grief, the trauma, whatever it is that you're healing from. I think for some people, myself included, the go-to reaction is to try and avoid those emotions and just hope that they'll go away on their own. But when you think about it, if you get physically injured, for example, if you twist your ankle or something, you don't ignore the pain and wait for it to stop. You seek treatment, you rest it, you get an ankle brace or something. Because you know that if you don't treat it, it will probably get worse. It will hurt a lot more, and there could be some damage done in the area. And I think it's the same thing with an emotional injury as well. Like any loss or any trauma of any kind, if you ignore it or if you avoid it, it will probably get worse. And again, it complicates the healing process a lot. So that's the most important thing for me when it comes to healing. Acknowledge it, learn how to treat it in the best way for you personally, and allow yourself to heal.
Yeah.
And a huge part of allowing yourself to heal, as I have discovered, involves self-reflection. It involves self-evaluation. And it's not easy by any means, but to me, it's an incredibly significant part of healing and the personal growth that comes from that.
Yeah, I don't know where I fall with the whole process of trying to deal with losing my mom, because I did lose her, but I know that within this video here that I've said it out loud, that's where I am. That's where I am in my whole trauma process in that particular instance.
Yeah.
That I lost her, and it's very traumatic, and I am hurt by it. And hopefully at some point in my life in the future and her life, we can come back together. So yeah.
But it just goes to show that there are many ways that you can lose a person.
Yeah.
It's not just death.
Yeah. Yeah, just that's been my motto, to accept your truth. For a while now, because I've realized that as soon as I accepted the part of me that I was rejecting, I just felt at peace. I don't know why. There's no way to explain it. It's just like once you accept yourself for whatever it is, whether it's you wake up in the morning and you look like a hot mess, you accept it and you say it out loud, somehow it just gets better, and in your head you become beautiful. So
no, it's acknowledging that, okay, yes, you're imperfect, yes, you have flaws and you have to work on that, and there's nothing wrong with self-improvement. There's nothing wrong with trying to fix things about yourself that you want to be better. But at the same time, it's this is you, this is your life, this is your body, this is your mind. So accept it, like you said, you know.
So definitely from this podcast, because we're kind of wrapping up here now.
Yes.
We can say that what we've gotten from it and what we would love to share with everybody is just claim it and accept.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much it. Anything else that you would like to say before we leave, close off?
No, I just want to thank you again so very much for having me. It's been a really great experience and I really appreciate everything. So thank you very much.
Yes, it is. And hopefully maybe you might open up your own podcast, because I love the way that you speak. And I told so many people, I'm like, go and subscribe and really help you through things. And
thank you.
A lot of people have said that I love the way that she talks, and I've gone through similar things. So if you all are out there, go and subscribe. And subscribe to me too, because I don't want to be lonely.
And she has good content as well.
Yay! All right, guys. So that's where we're wrapping it up. Bye, Zoe.
Bye, Layla.